Hello, I'm here to take you through a question which is from the WJEC Examination Board, which is a Welsh Joint Education Committee, so Wales, and it's the intermediate tier, which is basically grades up to a grade B. And this is a question that I thought was quite an interesting one because it involves using a skill that isn't necessarily explicit maths per se, because what you're having to do is use skills that are almost like put a bit of a structure around what you're going to do. Now, if you know what you're going to do, then obviously just go ahead and do it. Now, what I'm going to do here is take you through this, and I'm just going to talk through it because I haven't got anything else on here per se. I'm just going to pull up the screen with the pad on it. And I'm just going to write a couple of things on here. So I'm just going to get the annotate on here as well. So on the annotate button, if I can find it. There we go. Annotate, so I can draw on it as well. Okay, so reading the question, we have got, and I've just got to move this out of the way now. The diagram shows an isosceles triangle and a square. So we've got these triangles here, we've got lengths on there. They've thrown a few letters in here, haven't they, just to throw us. We will not be distracted. And that's what I want you to think about when you see this question. I will not be put off by the fact that there's letters in these shapes, all right? There is no other method that we use when we've got letters to when we've got numbers, okay? And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Okay, your end answer might not be a numeric one, but that's okay. Okay, it's all about the method. So let's just do this, and I've got a couple of minutes to do this, so I'll go through as concisely as I can. So it's asking us, as it's not drawn to scale, so don't get your ruler out and try and measure it. Use an algebraic method to find the value of x and y. You must show all your working. 5 marks. Now, 5 marks doesn't mean hard. 5 marks means there's 5 things that the examiner's looking for, and each one of those is valid in terms of getting to the end answer. So if you decided to work out the area of a circle here and there's no circles, then you're not going to get a method mark because it's not relevant to the question. Now, somebody might say to me, but how do I know if it is relevant? I'm going to give you a little bit of a method now. So if you know what you're doing, obviously go ahead and do it. I'm just going to shut the door because I've got very noisy. Okay, so we have got an isosceles triangle and a square. So we're taking a step back and saying, what's in front of me? What do I know about it? Well, I've got an isosceles triangle and I've got a square. It talks about perimeter. Okay, so what is the perimeter of a shape? What is the perimeter of a triangle? Okay, so when I've got diagrams, I then think, okay, so is there anything else I can write on these diagrams that might help me a little bit? Okay, so isosceles triangle. What do I know about isosceles triangles? Oh, 2 sides are the same length, aren't they? So 2 sides are the same. So with these lines here, it means that whatever that length is here, it's the same here. Now, so I'm literally going to write on here now 2x centimeters. Put the annotate back on. Yeah, now, so hopefully it's going to work out. Oh, no, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, never mind. I'll leave that for a second. So I would write on here 2x. Now, I also know that these angles are the same as well, but the only thing that's mentioned in here is perimeter. So I'm not even going to worry too much about angles. So I'd be writing like 2x on here. And I've got a square. What do I know about a square? And we're also talking about kind of perimeter and stuff. Well, I know that the perimeter is adding all the lengths of the sides all the way around. And I also know that that length is the same as that length. I know that length is the same as that length. But isn't there something else? So I could kind of put 6x minus y here. And I could put 12 here. But isn't that one 12? Hang on a minute, I've lost the mouse now. Isn't that one 12? This is where we have to kind of use our knowledge and kind of think, well, what can I add to this? And what do I know? So it's like, well, I'm looking at this thinking, well, as a square, that the length of that is the same as that. So 6x minus y is equal to 12, is it not? And here we've got a perimeter. Now we're given, and this is where we have to sort of get into a sort of slightly different way of thinking with maths. It's not all about getting the answer. It's about grouping things together sometimes. So it's like, well, I know that the perimeter is that length plus that length plus that length. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. So 2x. Now that one's 2x as well, isn't it? And plus 3y. Is there any connection I can make with that, with anything in the question? Well, I know it equals 19. Yeah, so you see how we're taking the perimeter, the actual perimeter, 19, and we're saying, well, that's found by adding, so it's 2x plus 2x plus 3y. You're making that connection. So from that, then have a look at them and see, well, is there anything I can do with this, what's in front of me? When you've got here, you've got like 6x minus y equals 12. Those two things in themselves will be a mark. So you've gone from looking at a question that says, oh, it's got these letters in it. Oh, I can't do letters. I'm going to move on. No, you're not going to say that. You're going to look at it and say, right, I know about an isosceles triangle. I know that it means that there's two sides that are the same lengths. So therefore, that's 2x and that's 2x. So I'm going to write it on there. I also know, oh, there's a square. So I know that that length is the same for every single side. So I'm going to kind of write that on my shape. And when I've got something out of my head and I've put it on that diagram, and that is really, really helpful, because for a lot of people, that visual really helps to sort of engage and make those connections. So it's a case of looking at the question and thinking about, well, what can I do? And then if you're not quite sure, okay, what maths can I do with what's in front of me? Now, I know for a fact that you're going to have a 2x plus 2x. What can we do with that? 2x plus 2x, 4x. Yeah? I'm going to leave that question there because obviously I couldn't annotate on the screen, but hopefully that's given you enough to be able to then tackle some of these questions that the lovely examination boards have decided, no, we don't want to do just numbers. We want to stick some letters in there as well. And what did I say earlier on? I will not be distracted by letters. I know what a perimeter is. I know what a square is. I know I have to add the sides up. So that's what I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter that there's letters there. It really doesn't. And just by doing for those two things, you've got 2 marks. That's one question, 2 marks. Imagine a few more questions near the back of the paper and you get another 2 marks there, another 2 marks there. You've suddenly gone up another grade. And what are the implications of that? You might not have to do your maths again. You might not have to do any more maths lessons next year because you've got to resit it in November. So surely this little bit of investment in practicing questions and thinking, oh, what can I do? Let me get some more questions so I can kind of practice that structure, practice that strategy of, I am not going to be distracted by letters. I'm going to look at the words, I'm going to look at the pictures, and I'm going to write down what I know about it. That was clearly an incredibly passionate Natalie coming out there, but I think you've pretty much seen a side to me which will help you with your maths, okay? So, if you want a bit more of that, why don't you come and join our maths club? Okay, I'm going to be doing loads and loads more of that. So maybe if you think that you or maybe your child isn't going to be able to do that themselves, it takes a lot to do all this work at home on your own. Maybe they need somebody to help guide them, then come along to Maths Club. It's £15 a week. You get an hour to an hour and a half of masterclass a week. There may be more. You're going to be in a group where you can ask questions. There'll be follow-up discussions as well about different things that we've done, and students get as much from it as they want. You put more in, I give more. If students give me work to mark, I mark. If they give me more works to mark, I work more. I give more recommendations. So Maths Club, give it a thought. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.